You're waiting for the right moment to start the life you actually want. And while you wait, you don't live. You just wait for someone to show up, pick you, and give you permission. There's a kind of loneliness worse than being alone. And it's that one. And I know a character who waited like that for 400 years. Everyone thinks she won't let anyone in out of loyalty or because she's stubborn. It's not loyalty, and it's not stubbornness. She's a little girl who got handed one vague prompt. Hey, wait here. Someone's coming to save you. And she sat on that order for 4 centuries without questioning a thing. Today's character is Beatrice. And fair warning right up front. We're going to take her apart in 4 phases, one by one. Because at the end, there's a scene where a single sentence breaks the 400 years, and it's not the sentence she was waiting for. If you make it all the way there, that scene won't land the same. It'll land at the exact right moment. You'd think maybe she's just dumb, but picture being an innocent 7 or 8-year-old kid. You're at the grocery store with your mom, and she gives you an order. Wait right here, I'll be back. The obvious move, if you're a good kid, is to obey. With no clue it might be the last time you ever see her, and that someone will tell you she went out for a carton of milk. In my Echidna video, I said she created a little girl, gave her one single task, and left her behind. Well, here's that girl, Beatrice. They just left her with a task, and an "I'll be right back" that never came true. That's not a dungeon, that's a 400-year waiting room with no internet. At least she had books to kill time. But think about it. We can usually stand waiting when we know how long it lasts. What actually drives you insane is having no news of it. Like when it's quitting time at work and your boss tells you some reports have to be ready today, but you're stuck waiting on the info the client still hasn't sent. And then the boss, with that satanic little smile, says she's ordering pizza for everyone, that it's time to put on the team jersey, and not your favorite NBA team's waiting, in this particular case, can easily qualify as a form of torture, with basically zero justification, because apparently Echidna is curious about the outcome, but the truth is, she's not even going to be around to appreciate it. And heads up, at the start, Beatrice wasn't entirely alone. That mansion held something that looked like a family: her big brother, Puck, and the man of the house, Rosewall. Hold on to that, because Beatrice's tragedy isn't just that Echidna walked out and ditched her. It's that everyone left, each in their own way, and every goodbye taught her the same lesson. Which lesson? That's exactly phase 1. Pay attention, you menace. Beatrice is not just some random name. In Dante's Divine Comedy, Beatrice is the one who guides the protagonist to salvation. They gave this creature the name of the Savior and then dumped her there, waiting for someone to save her. The name was a promise. The promise was never kept. You could also map her onto the classic princess, trapped and bored in some unreachable fortress until her prince shows up to rescue her from the evil witch. But the interesting thing about ReZero is how viciously it twists that pattern. On the surface, the mold fits. Pay attention, you weirdo. 1. A maiden trapped in a space cut off from the world, the Forbidden Library, which could be Rapunzel's tower. 2. That person who will come for her. That would be her Prince Charming. 3. She will get rescued no matter what. And this is where the adventure digivolves, because the prison was never really the library. It's the waiting. 1. Bea isn't locked up by a dragon or a villain. She's locked up by an ambiguous order, a bad prompt from her mother. That prompt never clearly specified who the person freeing her was, or how to recognize them, or what to do if they never showed up. The captivity turns psychological, a mandate she can't interpret, mixed with the fear of abandonment, a being that imprisons itself out of loyalty to its own grief. 2. Her Prince Charming doesn't rescue her like a prince. Subaru doesn't show up to free her with a kiss or carry her off heroically. He shows up like he always does, absolutely wrecked, running low on potassium. And this is where the fantasy falls apart, because he tells her the person she's been waiting for so long is never coming, that she should stop waiting. He refuses to play the part of the promised savior, of the Prince Charming. 3. The rescue only works because she chooses. Instead of being passively scooped up like the little Disney princesses, Subaru demands that she decide for herself and offers her a bond. The salvation runs both ways, since he's being saved too. You know Subaru's only got checkpoint power. These 3 points flip that fairy tale pattern in a genuinely interesting way. Echidna wasn't the only one who left. Beatrice had a brother, Puck. Yes, Emilia's cat, that one. He was the first spirit Echidna created, Beatrice the last. And here's the really curious detail. Puck was made with a crystal-clear purpose, to find and protect a little girl, Emilia. He had a why, a mission written from day one, a reason to exist. And Beatrice? Well, Beatrice got manufactured, and then they told her, "Hey, watch the library." Her task was never her reason for being. It was a patch slapped on top of her. So imagine growing up next to a brother who knows exactly what he came into this world to do, and you don't. And one day that brother leaves to fulfill his mission, pulls it off, and leaves you sitting in the chair, waiting. Again. When the first person who was supposed to stay walks away, and on top of that leaves you with the task of waiting for her, your brain doesn't learn "I was abandoned." It learns something worse. If I behave, if I wait well, if I do the task, she comes back. That's called abandonment trauma. It's not sadness over a loss. It's a wound that rewrites the basic code of how love works. Love isn't something you receive. It's something you have to earn by waiting. And here's the kicker. Echidna never chained her up. There was a task and an "I'll be right back." The door never had a lock. Hold on to that image, the unlocked door, because it comes back 3 times in this video, and the last one lands right on top of you. A girl with that wound doesn't keep waiting out of stubbornness. She keeps waiting out of fear. And to understand that fear, we have to look at what happens inside her every time someone actually does cross that door. Spoiler, it's worse than the waiting. Look at the pattern that repeats over and over in her life. The library door opens. Beatrice's heart speeds up. Is it now? Is it this time? Did that person arrive? And someone walks in. Anyone. A servant. A Mathers. A stranger. And it's not them. Again, it's not them. Until she hits a point where she just doesn't want to hear it anymore and throws them out. Curt. Cold as your ex. Leave, I suppose. She treats them like garbage. And everyone looks at that and goes, so toxic, so bitter, must be that time of the month. No. Pause the video and listen to this. Because this is the sentence holding up the entire analysis. That coldness isn't contempt. It's terror. Every face that walks in and isn't the one is a mini confirmation that she really was left behind. That person is probably never coming. So she does what anyone who's been abandoned does. She pushes you away before you can push her away. She treats you badly, so she never has to find out that you're going to leave too. It's like those non-linear games where you write your own story and they promise you a reward. You grind, you wait for that reward, you keep sinking time into it, and guess what? It never comes. and you keep waiting and waiting and waiting on pure faith until you get ganked by a squad of dopamine-addicted Brazilian maniacs. Why? Fear of losing what you've already invested. It's the sunk cost fallacy taken to the extreme. My effort has to be worth something. I can't give up now. Echidna locked her inside an emotional casino, trapped in a vicious loop where the variable reward keeps her chained to a door that only ever delivers disappointment. And there's still one piece missing because there was someone who did stay, more or less. Rosewall, the owner of the mansion. The first Rosewall Beatrice knew was something else entirely. He teased her, pranked her, played with her almost like one more sibling. For a while, there was something that resembled a home. But Rosewall carries a self-imposed curse, a magic that lets him pass his soul from body to skip death, what Beatrice herself called a subjective immortality. The price? The Rosewall who knew her, the one who teased her, kept getting watered down with every jump, until he became a stranger with the same face. Beatrice had to watch the one presence that stayed slowly turn into someone who was no longer the person who loved her. And that sometimes is worse than a clean abandonment. The person is still there, sitting right across from you, but they're not the same person anymore. Another door opens, and once again, it's not them. And now, the detail 99% of people missed. Pause the video on a close-up of Betty and look at her eyes. See it? Her irises have a butterfly pattern. A butterfly, the bug that exists for exactly one thing: to leave the cocoon and fly. Beatrice is a butterfly that stayed inside the cocoon for 400 years, waiting for someone on the outside to give her permission to open her wings. That's drawn into her eyes from the very first episode, and almost nobody saw it. When you desperately want someone to stay, but at the same time you shove them away because you're scared they'll hurt you, that's anxious attachment. And when the two forces contradict each other this hard, it's the gas and the brake floored at the same time. Come, save me. No, leave, I don't trust you. No, wait, don't leave me. It's exhausting, and it's exactly how she treats everyone who crosses that door. And stop for a second. Have you ever treated someone worse precisely because they mattered more? Full Helga Pataki style from the anime Hey Arnold, shoving away the person you most want to stay just so it hurts less when they leave. If you've got the guts, drop it below in one single word. Type gave if you did it, or got if it was done to you. One word. If I feel like it, I'll read them, purely for the gossip. After centuries trapped in her own loop, something happens. Because hope doesn't snap all at once, it goes out. And the exact day it went out, Beatrice changed forever. Let me show you that day. Echidna didn't leave her completely blind. She left her a gospel, and not the St. Mark kind. This is a book that kept showing her the future, crumbs, signs that person was on the way. It was the only thing keeping her morale up. Her map, her proof that the waiting meant something. And one day, the book stops writing itself. The pages go blank, forever. All that time waiting for a signal, and the signal cuts out. Nobody told her, no one is coming. They told her something worse, nothing. The pages stay blank, and she reads it exactly the way you'd read it in her position. It's done. There's no future. It's officially so over. And even then, what does she do? She keeps waiting. Same chair, same library. Without a single damn shred of proof that any of this she's living through means anything. Why would anyone do that? The answer is in one nasty little experiment. There's a classic experiment that explains this perfectly. They put an animal, and the when is sanni dog, in a box split into two compartments by a very low barrier, barely reaching halfway up its body. The floor on one side gives electric shocks, but the other side is safe. Put a normal animal in, and it hops the barrier instantly and saves itself. Figures out the trick in 2 seconds. But here's where it gets curious. Put in an animal that was previously subjected to pain it couldn't escape, and something real sad happens. It drops to the floor, whimpers, and stays still, taking the shock. It doesn't try to jump, even though salvation is just 4 inches away. Its brain has already convinced itself that no matter what it does, the floor will keep hurting. It stopped trying. It locked itself into denial. That's learned helplessness. This is exactly what happens to Beatrice at the end of the mansion arc. She isn't trapped just by the library's walls, she's trapped by 4 centuries of resignation. After 400 years of waiting for that person with nobody arriving, her will broke completely. She learned that she decides nothing, that her pain is inevitable, and that her life only has value if she's carrying out an order. That's why, when the library is burning down and Subaru walks in reaching out his hand to save her, she doesn't move. It's not because the magic is stopping her in that instant, it's because learned helplessness paralyzed her. She'd rather die in her destructive comfort zone than accept that. Like the animals in the experiment, she does have a place to jump where nothing bad will happen to her. And if the wound is the abandonment, and the symptom is how she treats everyone, and the deep damage is that she stopped believing she could choose, then we're left with the most uncomfortable question. What's left of Beatrice if you take away the waiting? Short answer, nothing. And that's phase number 4. Listen to her talk. If you're a proper otaku, you'll catch that she tends to end her sentences with kashira. In her case, it's a verbal tick. It translates as, I suppose, as if nothing she says were really hers, as if she were asking permission to have an opinion. Ask her what she wants, what she'd like, who she is when she's not waiting. And she has no answer, because there's no her underneath the task. There's the task, and nothing else. And this is the bottom of the pit. When you hand your entire life over to a single external instruction, wait for that person, the instruction stops being something you do and becomes what you are. Beatrice isn't someone who is waiting. Beatrice is the waiting. Pull out the mandate and there's no free person left underneath. There's a void. Her entire identity is fused to an order. That's what happens when you tie your worth to being chosen. You stop being a someone and turn into a function waiting to be switched on. And remember Puck, the one with the crystal clear purpose Beatrice never got. That difference is exactly what eats away at her identity. Because when Puck finally delivers, finds Amelia, becomes her family, his reason for being made real, for Beatrice it's a slow knife. Her brother got exactly what she was missing. A why, and someone to belong to. It's no coincidence that at first Beatrice can't stand Amelia, that she treats her with this odd coldness. Read it like this. It's not that she hates her. It's that Amelia is the face of everything Beatrice never had. Her brother's fulfilled purpose, standing right in front of her, smiling. And it hurts a little less to blame that face than to accept that you were made for no reason. And if you haven't caught it by now, the kicker on top of all the kickers is that she herself is surrounded by all the knowledge in the world. She knows magic, history, things no human knows. She knows everything except the one thing that would save her, that she has permission to choose for herself. So the final question. Someone this broken, this fused to waiting, can they even be saved? And how do you save someone who's convinced they don't even have permission to want to be saved? I promised you at the start there was a scene, one single sentence. It's now. And it doesn't go the way you're imagining. Last door. A boy makes it all the way to the back of the library. And get this dumbass was coached to lie to her. They told him, Tell her you're the chosen one, Neo style, and she'll obey you. Easy mode. One lie and it's over. Beatrice does what she's done for 4 centuries. She asks, heart in her throat, trying not to show it. Is it you? Are you that person? And he looks at her and tells her, no, I'm not that person. Stop right there. Beatrice's salvation doesn't arrive when someone pretends to be her order. It arrives when someone refuses to be it. Because after the I'm not that person, the boy says the other thing. But I'll make you happier than that random person you don't even know. Choose me. Not because you were told to, but because you want to. Because it's your will. And for the first time in 400 years, Beatrice isn't given an order. She's given a damn choice. And she cries, because nobody ever had given her that choice. Remember how Echidna left her waiting for that person? Here's the secret. Echidna never meant for her to wait for someone specific. She wanted to see who Beatrice would choose. The mandate was always, deep down, an invitation to decide, but wrapped so cruelly that it took Beatrice 400 years to understand that the key was on her side of the door the whole time. Salvation was never a person who was coming. It was the permission to choose one. And meanwhile, catch this detail. The one who stayed, Roswall, used that very order from Echidna to keep her in place. A piece in his own plan. The difference is total. Roswall exploited her waiting. Subaru gave her back her decision. And that right there is how an abandonment wound actually heals. It doesn't heal with someone telling you, yes, I'm what you were waiting for. That just swaps one cage for another. It heals with someone telling you, I'm not your preordained salvation, why? And thus I guess I choose you anyway. And if you want, you can choose me back. Beatrice didn't need that person. She needed someone to give her back the right to a voice of her own. Up to here, the psychology already told you who she is. Now let's do something different. And stick around, because after this you won't be able to watch the scene the same way ever again. We're going to grab one scene and read it like a detective. What objects were placed there on purpose, and what they're telling you without opening their mouths. The scene is the last door. After 4 centuries of people walking in for the knowledge, and never for her, a boy makes it to the back of the library. And the place itself matters. It's the Forbidden Library, a room that holds basically everything there is to know about the world. And Beatrice lives standing right in the middle of it. What anyone sees with the analytical brain switched off. A girl in a room full of books, waiting for a sentence. You already saw what the boy does with that sentence. He refuses to say it, and still reaches out his hand. She takes it and walks toward the open door. Keep that snapshot. A hand that doesn't bring the order, and feet that finally move. Now, the symbols planted there. There are 3, and they're heavily loaded. 1, the Forbidden Library, all the world's knowledge in a single room. 2, the books in general, and especially that gospel that went blank, pages that exist to tell you what's going to happen. And 3, the door, the same one that for 4 centuries only ever opened to bring in someone who wasn't the one. The detective question is the usual one. Is this just fantasy set dressing, or does each thing point at something more? Let me tell you how I read it. And heads up, this is interpretation now, not something the author came out and confirmed. A library connotes answers, certainty. It's all written here. That she lives trapped inside the most complete library in existence and still can't find the one thing she needs connotes something pretty ugly. You can have access to all the information in the universe and still not know the only thing that matters, whether you have permission to move. The books drive the idea home. A book tells you what happens next. It spares you from deciding. And the blank gospel connotes the exact moment the universe stopped giving her instructions and left her alone with an empty page, which is the thing that terrifies her most. And the door means the same old promise, that salvation is something that comes in from outside. That's why the boy's gesture carries so much weight. He doesn't walk in to hand her one more answer for the library. He walks in to take the answer away and leave her the space. What worldview does all of this build together? The scene lays two kinds of salvation on the table and picks one on purpose. The first is the library and book kind. Salvation as data. Someone shows up, says the correct sentence, fills the page, and you obey. That's the one Beatrice begged for over 4 centuries, and it's the one the scene knocks down. The second is the one left standing. Salvation as decision. Nobody brings you the answer. They give you back the right to write it yourself. The hero refusing to be the order, with the easy lie sitting right there in his mouth, builds a very specific vision of the world. The one that says receiving your life as an instruction isn't living. It's executing. And that freedom isn't someone opening the door for you. It's someone making you cross it on your own 2 feet. And here the circle closes. The infinite library, the book that dictates the future, the door that only ever disappoints. Every symbol in that scene is the same thesis, spoken in the language of images instead of clinical words. The only real rescue isn't the sentence she was waiting for. It's the hand that refuses to deliver it. They don't get her out of the library by carrying her. They get her out by making her walk. And if you sat with that 1 second longer than you meant to, it's because deep down, you already knew this isn't just an anime thing. You know this one from real life. Let me say the uncomfortable part. You know a Beatrice. You might be a Beatrice, the person waiting for the right moment to start the life they want. Once they get the waifu, the job, the gym body, somebody's approval. And in the meantime, they don't start. They just wait. The one who ties all their worth to being chosen. By a company, by a love, by a father who never said, "I'm proud of you." The one whose door has been open for years and still won't go out and touch grass because someone, at some point, taught them that deciding isn't their place. That's the real tragedy of the girl in the library. It's not a fantasy. It's the most honest version of a whole lot of us. Waiting to be chosen, when the only thing that was ever needed was to choose. Almost all of us wait a little. We wait for the sign, the permission, the right person, the perfect moment, because waiting is safe and choosing is terrifying. Choosing means that if it goes wrong, it was your decision. And that scares people more than 400 years in a library. There's a kind of loneliness worse than being alone. It's waiting for permission to start. And most of us spend it waiting for the sign, for someone else's choice, for the day somebody finally tells us, yes, it's you. But sometimes the door never had a lock. Sometimes the only permission missing was yours. If this stirred something up in there, pretend I'm Echidna and I'm ordering you to subscribe to the channel, hit like, ring the bell, and leave a comment on every video. Pretend this channel is going to be your forbidden library forever. Start getting used to the idea. You must stay faithful to it. Also, if you feel like it, pick the next character yourself in the comments, so I don't have to think so hard. Although there's already a patient on the table, and this one prays, literally. Beatrice waited 400 years for love and nearly destroyed herself waiting for it. The next one did something worse. He found it, and he hollowed himself out so he'd never have to let it go. His name is Betelgeuse, and once you understand what's going on inside his head, you'll never laugh at his screaming the same way again. A smooch and a little butt grab. Bye.